Well, in this week's Crypto Corner, I want to point out the fact that Coinbase isn't the only crypto company cashing in on Bitcoin's big boom with their public debut planned for next month. London-based blockchain.com, not to be outdone, which counts 31 million verified customers across 200 countries, announced a significant $300 million Series C funding round to reach a $5.2 billion post-money valuation. The round comes just a month after the company raised $120 million in what's been an incredibly hot time for the crypto space, with Bitcoin holding above $50,000 a coin. And for more on it, happy to say we're joined here by the CEO and co-founder of blockchain.com, Peter Smith, with us today. Peter, thanks for coming on here, man. I mean, talk to me about the growth that you guys have seen to kind of justify the fact that you want to go out and raise $300 million. Sounds like a lot of money here. So where are you guys at in your growth stage, and what have you seen as institutional investors have poured in?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me today. I appreciate it. I think we've seen the business, really double in size in the last 2 months alone. And that's across our retail business, but even more interestingly, across the institutional side of the business, where we're one of the top prime brokerages in the market today. And I think one of the reasons we wanted to go out and raise a lot of capital is to increase the trust that our institutional customers have in us as a business. I think as you're seeing increasingly large institutions come into the space, folks really want to see a deep and very secure balance sheet behind the company.
Peter, I think it's worth stressing how significant the capital raise is. The third largest capital raise in the crypto space. This coming just 1 month after you raised $120 million. So you have really been able to raise at a very rapid pace. And to Zach's point, I'm curious what has really shifted from a fundamental standpoint in this space. No question you are attracting a lot of investors, but it also feels like the long-term case for crypto has really shifted because of so many institutional investors getting in.
Sure. And we have raised a lot of equity in the last 2 months. In the last 12 months, between debt and equity, we've raised over $1.5 billion across the USD and debt markets. And so we've really been scaling our balance sheet at a really fast pace over the last year. I think that's really driven by the fact that experienced and sophisticated investors are seeing for the first time, not just consumers in the crypto market, but institutions as well. And when they see a business like ours that's profitable on both a consumer basis as well as an institutional basis and extremely profitable overall, they want to be part of that growth story.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons as to why, but you guys specifically, talk to me about your revenue streams and where you're seeing kind of the most case for excitement here, because it's shocking to see how quickly some of these companies have been able to build out the financial institution side of this and lending and all the other key aspects. So which one has you most excited?
We run 3 businesses today that are at scale and a 4th one that's new. The 3 that are at scale are our consumer business, which is really a brokerage experience. That's our most profitable business and our largest business today. Our second business is our institutional business, which is really a prime brokerage that offers custody, execution, structured products, and credit. That business is our second most profitable business at the company, and probably the second most profitable institutional business in crypto today. And then our third business is our exchange, which is also on its own quite a profitable business. And then we also run an asset management business that I'm pretty excited about. I'm spending most of my time today inside of our institutional business, just because that business is scaling really rapidly. And I'm spending a lot of time with clients trying to figure out what they're going to need over the next 2 or 3 years to become long-term active participants in the crypto market.
You've got roughly 31 million verified users across 200 countries. Where are you seeing the biggest growth right now, or most significant growth outside of the U.S.?
Yeah, so most of our business is actually outside the U.S. today and always has been. We're really rest of world focused. And so we continue to see the growth outside of the U.S. right now. Our fastest growing markets are, in the EU, parts of Latin America, and then, basically Eastern Europe, former sort of Soviet bloc. And we're seeing really rapid growth across those markets. I think, one of the most interesting things about crypto is that everyone gets to be a part of the same market, whether you're a giant institution or a retail customer, in Poland. And that's really interesting. And that's one of the core focuses of our business, is making sure that everyone has equal access to the market. We never sell your data. We never prefer one type of customer over another. We're very much about meritocratic access to the crypto market.
Yeah, when it comes to the regulation piece of this, obviously, if you're dealing with that many countries, I imagine it's going to be a little bit trickier than maybe one that focuses solely here in the U.S. But how big of a question mark is that now here in 2021? Because the space has matured quite a bit, but regulation always seems to be hanging overhead. So, I mean, what's your estimation of the main threat facing the crypto space and blockchain.com and what you guys are trying to build right now?
Yeah, so we've been in the space a long time, and part of our commitment inside the space is to work with regulators and policymakers to come up with, practical rules-based approaches that protect consumers and institutions as they become participants in the crypto market. And I'm, proud to say that we've worked with dozens of countries and regulators around the world, and we're going to continue to do that work. But it's going to be a long process. Recently, we had a new board member join, one of the most experienced people ever from Washington, D.C., Jim Messina, and he's going to be a huge part of that effort over the coming years.
All right. Lastly, Peter, before we let you go, now you just raised 300 million, so probably not any rush to the public market here, but Coinbase lined up to do so. So when you look at it, if you want to tap when things are still hot, Bitcoin's still above 50K, what's the timeline for you guys in maybe going public?
Listen, Zach, we haven't needed to raise capital in quite a while because the business is very profitable. But we continue to be very active about thinking about the best way to position the company for long-term success. And that may, involve going public soon.
Okay. We'll leave it at that. We'll have to check in with you again, Peter, to see whether we're a little closer than we think in terms of blockchain.com coming to market. Peter Smith, blockchain.com's co-founder and CEO. Great to talk to you today.